One of the things that he really felt like he was getting more out of his direct reports was just much more slowed down, calibrated thinking. What if I were to tell you that in order to get your team to align, to collaborate, to cooperate, you might need to get them to meditate together? So I'll tell you a story about Tommy. So when he and I were working together, we had probably hit our fourth or fifth month. And he came to me and said, I realize my small team of 10 that I meet with every week, I realize they're going in almost 10 different directions. When I'm working with a one-on-one client, typically I'll take the time at the beginning of every session to do what I call a centering process. So once he got centered, he felt like he was having, with me at least, very deep and substantive conversations. And then he came to observe, wow, my team, they're not having deeper conversations. We're not really getting to this strategy. We're really reacting to the past and worrying about the future. And each person in their own discipline, we're getting very focused on their own discipline versus really looking at the business as a whole and being able to kind of cross-pollinate ideas and iterate things beyond the status quo. So the tool that he had been using the most was the centering process. And then he took this to his team. He realized for him, as we were using it in our sessions, he was starting to take it in other areas of his life. One transition that seems to really trip up a lot of people is the transition between the workday and then going home and realizing, oh, I need to recalibrate. I need to be in the right time zone, if you will. And I think in essence for his team, he recognized, I need to figure out how to get them all in the right time zone. So he utilized this tool, this very simple tool of centering, and he approached his team and said, I have a request. My request is we try this, almost like a science experiment. Again, this is what we do in coaching all the time. We run mini bespoke science experiments. Okay, well, if we centered once a week for 4 straight weeks, how would everyone either behave and or respond to that? And at the end of 4 weeks, he sent out an anonymous survey, and 8 out of the 10 participants in his team were amazed. They too felt like it was a huge game changer. They were using it with their direct reports, and they were also taking it home. And so from my understanding, they're continuing to this day. The other thing that I'll share is, one of the things that he really felt like he was getting more out of his direct reports was just much more slowed down, calibrated thinking. And so as everybody got to slow down and calibrate their leadership, they really began to have much more what I call substantive, real, grounded conversations about things that are at hand and actions and initiatives they want to take as a result. My call to action is to run a science experiment in your own life. First and foremost, just taking an audit. Where are you centered? So many clients come to me and want to understand kind of tips and tricks of executive presence. And I don't deal in tips and tricks. It's like, I'm all about practice. What are you practicing? And if you're practicing presence, then you have executive presence in that moment. As you follow the links below, you'll be able to find several different centering processes that are available to you so you can practice them. So my call to action to you would be do the centering as a practice and see what happens in your leadership. And then to the degree that it feels like it's a useful tool to you, that's a useful tool to share with your team, to share with others, to really drive presence and to drive clarity and better communication among yourself, your colleagues, and your teams.